There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, hello, happy birthday, boy.
Oh, thank you.
How you doing there?
Good. I happen to be in town. I'm like, oh, let me swing by and see what's going on
I'm
here.
so glad to see you. We're live. Everyone's going to see this. We're live. Hey, everybody. This is a birthday hug that's happening live. Birthday hugs.
Yay.
We have to get the preliminaries out of the way. Would you excuse us while we go get a drink and go get a hotel room, and we'll be back a little later to do the show, okay? You're like, I'm not prepared for that.
Wait a minute, wait.
Ooh, crazy. I'm going to get something out of this back corner,
Okay.
out of which,
Oh.
see this, folks? See this?
Ooh,
You know
it's
what
the
this
pretty
is?
one.
It's the pretty one. This is the Lord of the Rings. The big leather bound, well, it's faux leather, but this is the red leather Lord of the Rings. It's called the Red Letter Edition. And it draws comparisons to the Red
The Red Book of Westmarch.
Yes,
Yeah.
It does. It also draws comparisons to the Red Letter Edition of the King James Bible.
Oh, okay.
Because
That too.
it has red print in it, but not for the words of our Lord, but it has red print in it for chapter titles.
Well, for some of us, it is the words of our Lord.
For some of the words of Tolkien have almost a quality of divinity.
Oh, they
Isn't
do
this
indeed.
beautiful? Hold that up for the folks.
That is gorgeous.
Isn't
Look at
it
this.
gorgeous?
Look at this thing.
Gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
And we also
It really does look. It looks and feels like a Bible. It's fantastic.
Do you know what I call the real thing that is analogous to having a Bible in Middle Earth is this, the Silmarillion.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is, as you know. Come here, Justin. Join us and say hello to the folks
Yeah,
before you
come
go
on
in.
in.
See this? Is that Baron throwing that? No.
No, that's not Baron.
That's,
Oh God, I'm blanking on his name.
Is this Turin? Is it
No,
Fingolfin?
It's one of the sons of Feanor. Oh God.
Finwë?
No, he's like the good son of Feanor, the one.
Oh, there was one.
Yeah,
There was one good son
the
of
one,
Feanor.
The one who like resisted the temptation of the Silmarils up until the end, until he finally gave in, took it, and it burned his hand.
Yeah,
And
and he
so
threw it into
he-
the ocean.
Yeah. So he threw it into the ocean and basically wandered the coast for the rest of his life.
He did. Are we to assume that the Lord of the Waters, Autumno, would have at that point taken custodianship?
Eravandi saying that's Maglor. That sounds
Thank
right.
you.
Yes, Maglor.
Thank you,
yes.
Eravandi. That's Maglor.
Yes.
Do you know
There's
what?
so many names to remember in this dang book.
I am going to have to take. We're going to have to take our Tolkien scholarship cards and rip them up and use them as for colorful confetti because Eravandi knows more than we do today. Thank you, Eravandi. It's very, very good. Look at this, beautiful. But oh wait, it's the Horn of Gondor.
Uh-oh.
Did you ever hear the ringing of silver trumpets?
I have now.
Okay, what is it? What's the direct dialogue is? Have you heard the clear?
Have you ever been welcomed home to
Welcomed home.
to the clear ringing of silver trumpets?
Yes, I think the word clear ringing of silver trumpets
Yeah.
is. Hello, why is this deleting my G? I don't know. Hello there. Eravandi, Sarah, everybody's there in the chat room. There's John Constantine.
Yeah.
Whoa, John Constantine. I love
John
John
Constantine?
Really? The chain-smoking demonologist, occultist, magician from the DC Vertigo universe, who just got canceled off of NBC, but happily
Is
has
showing up now in Arrow.
in Arrow and in other places.
Occasionally, yes.
Do you know what? I think that the Keanu Reeves Constantine got a lot of hard knocks.
I do
took
too.
a lot of
Like
knocks.
I didn't dislike that movie. It
I
was not.
loved it.
It wasn't my favorite movie ever, but I mean, I was not really a reader of Hellblazer, so I didn't really
Yeah.
know it all that well.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was okay. Like
it was great. Tilda Swinton as an
kept my
archangel,
attention.
all crazy.
Yeah, but it does have Shia LaBeouf.
So it's got Peter Stormare as
Yeah.
Satan. What could be better than Peter Stormare acting all freaky to be like Lucifer himself? Well, I don't know. I would have enjoyed seeing.
Yeah, no, Peter Stormare was great.
He was. He's always
He's
great.
no Viggo Mortensen, but
That's
and
true.
Few people are.
I would have enjoyed seeing Constantine not set in Los Angeles with black hair, played by a beach bum like Keanu,
Yeah.
but really played by a British man with blonde hair
Oh, I thought
in a trench coat.
I thought the TV series was phenomenal.
They
and
got
I
it
was,
right.
I was so glad
got it
when
right.
when they brought him onto Arrow after it got canceled. What is this?
Wow,
one?
is this our Snapchat? Hey, everybody.
Oh, hello.
There's Josh.
Hello.
This is Clifford. We're going to begin the show officially. Now we're on Snapchat. We're on Ustream. We're on Twitter Live. We're on Facebook Live. And of course, you can always find us at theonering.net/live. This is the destination for all Tolkien fans on the web. It has been for 17 and a half years and continues even further forward in time as Tolkien fans never diminish. There is no abatement in their enthusiasm. There is no diminishment in the color, the fury of their responses to all the news and all the gossip that's fit to print. And that's what we do here at theonering.net. Allow me to introduce my missing co-host, Justin. He is named in the lower third. There's his name, but he is sitting over there in his boffer bomber hat, looking all dwarvish.
Boffer.
He
Boffer
grew.
has the hat,
He grew his beard back, so he's looking particularly dwarvish. If anybody asks me, and I note they have not, we're taking the long way round. Yeah, that's a long-winded introduction, but let me introduce the show.
But,
okay?
you know, yeah, we got it all.
Hello, Jay. There's Jay, my good buddy Jay Hickenbottom from England. Kieran, our buddy from Wales. We have Penny Young in the live chat. Jacob Colton. Hey, guys and gals. And look at Kaylin Griffin. Mwah. We love you, Pipskay. My favorite survivor, my favorite fighter. She's a fighter, and she's just the best. She's gonna be right as rain. And look, there's Renee, Victoria. We got people from around the world. Hello,
Everybody's
Stallang. Hey, Ed Shreds. Howdy. So, I think we're on 4 or 5 different platforms. We have to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
I come back after a couple weeks or a
what
couple
happens?
months, and it's like, oh my God, we've got so many different platforms on here now.
We do. Okay, now you go digging in here for some bits of Beren and Luthien.
Oh, God,
And I'm going to go digging in here for some bits of Aragorn and Arwen.
That's easy enough to do.
And the reason why we're going to be talking about Beren and Luthien and Aragorn and Arwen is because there are many direct analogies between both of their stories, and it is a beautiful Valentine's Day. For those of you on the Catholic side of things, like Professor Tolkien was, it is properly called Saint Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is.
Welcome to Saint Valentine's Day. Single ladies, you ain't been calling me on the phone, so I don't have a date.
Me neither.
Single men, you ain't been calling me on the phone, so I don't have a date. So I'm just going to hang out with my buddies, and we're going to do Lord of the Rings show for you guys, okay?
No, it's cool that we get to talk about Beren and Luthien
we do,
because
yes.
I was just I
can-
was just thinking about it on
So we can depress everyone.
Well, the point I always make with Beren and Luthien is that it's one of the only stories in the Silmarillion that actually has a happy ending.
The Beren and Luthien story has tragedy as well as a happy ending.
It does.
In an isolated way. Yes.
Like one of the jokes I always make is like most people come to Beren and Luthien from that one scene from the extended Fellowship of the Ring where you see Aragorn singing the Lay of Luthien under his breath and Frodo asks him about it. And
Wasn't that a nice bit?
It was a nice bit.
Peter Jackson didn't have to bother putting that in the film. That was
he didn't.
really nice bit.
It was a nice bit, but I also think that it was kind of misleading because the way Aragorn talks about it, he's like he describes like basically the story of Beren and Luthien, saying Luthien gave up her immortality for Beren, and Frodo says, "Well, what happened to her?" And he just says, "She died." And like if that's all and I'm like he was kind of missing a very important point, which is yes, she died, but they also lived a long and happy life together.
True, but that's not what Aragorn is mindful of.
No,
he's
no,
already
it's not.
feeling
No, it's
crushing
not.
guilt at this association.
No, absolutely.
But he did miss that part.
It totally makes sense, but yeah, like Aragorn's head was not in the right place to give you an accurate representation of Beren and Luthien.
That's true. But for those hardcore fans who watch those details in the extended editions, they might therefore seek out more of the tales.
And you absolutely
the tales
should.
that are told in the Silmarillion.
You absolutely should because it's one of my favorites, and I'm so excited
I agree.
because there's a full standalone Beren and Luthien book
Hi, Columbia. Good
coming
to see
out
you.
in May.
There is, yes, that's right. The new
Yeah.
Beren and Luthien standalone book, which will have new versions of manuscripts that were not the versions edited by Christopher Tolkien into this volume.
Right.
So
And
we're going to get a new exposure to
this is-
Beren and Luthien
but
soon.
this is still being this one is still edited by Christopher Tolkien, and he's doing the same thing with this that he did with the Children of Hurin, where he took all of those different manuscripts and all those different bits and pieces and stitched together a complete narrative out of it.
That's going to have more juice, More meat, more potatoes.
I know. I can't wait.
Meat and potatoes.
Yes.
Hey,
Potatoes.
hello from England. Hello from Brazil. Wow, we have a lot of folks from around the world. Oh yeah, there's a copy of the Silmarillion, the one that we're holding up right here. It is in that video.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. This is the one that's illustrated by Ted Naismith.
But the Ted Naismith edition is gorgeous.
Yeah.
John Constantine says, I celebrated my Valentine's Day with my one great love, the Lord of the Rings. You spoke my name. I'm excited. Stay excited. Stay awake.
Same version as Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see how artificially placed those red Post-its are in the book?
Yeah.
That's just such a goof.
That's just him just like trying to rile up the fans.
Yeah, and he's good at that. He's great. Hello, Elizabeth from Mexico. Hello, Seattle.
And now we're out of focus.
Chile. Wow. Well, we've got people from Chile, everyone south of the border. We have fans from Asia, Africa, Europe, all across Europe and North America, South America. This is Torn Tuesday. Let's get right down to it. Big news. We don't have too much to say about the dirty details, but we are confirmed that theonering.net, representing all of Tolkien fandom, will appear in Los Angeles at the upcoming
WonderCon.
Excuse me, has it been moved back?
Fake news.
Is it been moved back?
Sorry. No, it's in Anaheim. It's not in LA.
WonderCon was
WonderCon was
yeah, okay.
Anaheim this
All
year.
right, then I misspoke. You know, there's a sister convention which is really, really closely attached to the big one, San Diego Comic-Con. And you know, SDCC is the biggest of all the big mother of all cons. Second only to that in the California or in the West Coast area would be WonderCon. And they have events in Seattle for PAX.
Yep.
And they have, San Francisco events.
Yeah.
But nothing beats the combination of WonderCon in Anaheim, and that happens up in March. April,
like late March, early April.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's coming around near Easter time, late March, early April. So, hey, Argentina and Michigan, mwah, North Carolina. That's where my mom comes from North Carolina. Apex. Hello, Apex, North Carolina. That's where my mom is from. It's awesome.
But
everybody around the world is here.
Yeah. But yes, you were saying we are going to have a panel.
We're going to be at WonderCon.
We're going to have a panel at WonderCon this year.
And this is kind of big news for us because we thought for a long time we were not going to have any show or any presence at this beautiful big convention, but we'll be representing Ringer fans at WonderCon, and we'll give more details on the onering.net when we get close to that date. How about that? Thanks, Kathy, and thanks, Larry.
They pulled some strings for us.
Yeah, well, hey, we are probably like legacy at conventions like this.
We probably are.
Almost 2 decades of representing Tolkien fans.
I don't want to go too much into like the behind the scenes, but it seemed like there was a miscommunication at some point.
Just a little bit.
Where WonderCon thought we had told them, no, we're not coming.
But they know us, and we have always had big stars, big names, lots of surprises that come to join us on our panel every year. We've had the visual effects directors, we've had the Oscar winners, Richard Taylor and his team of design people from Weta, Daniel Falconer, the wonderful ladies from the Happy Hobbit podcast, webcast, and we've had special erudite guests, Tolkien scholars, writers, and here and there, a few wizards and a few dwarves.
A couple.
A few actors have wonderfully shown up. So we're looking forward to a really great, yes, we will answer your questions.
Okay.
But before we get to answer your questions, we're going to do the bulk of our show by acknowledging Valentine's Day. And that means looking at the love stories in The Lord of the Rings and in the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
And that boils down to the big two. The big love stories that happened. And I'm not talking about Gimli getting a crush on Galadriel. I'm talking about the real love stories. I'm not talking about Tauriel getting a crush on another dwarf named Aidan Turner. I'm not talking about that.
No,
okay?
Well, to be fair, I think he got a crush on her before.
Oh,
she
yeah, well,
on
you
him,
know,
but,
she...
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, hey, you know, Legolas was like, why are you two looking at each other like that, you know?
Well, and Legolas was like all jealous, which was incredibly off-putting.
That was weird to see Jelly.
Yeah.
Jelly Leggy.
Jelly Leggy, yeah.
Jelly Leggy, that was super weird. Okay, if you guys want to participate in the show, you are encouraged to join us. We will have Skype on in a little while. You guys can Skype in, and look at this.
I think
a hotline.
Somebody, I think Sarah earlier on in the chat was asking when specifically is WonderCon. It's the weekend of March 31st.
Boom.
There you go.
Crossing right over into April.
Yep.
And you see that phone number right there below us? You can text us, you can call us. The onering.net hotline is 530 number 6 number 4 FRODO. 530 6 for Frodo. For Frodo. So, sorry, I do it every day. I do it every week, rather. So, we got a hotline question. It says, hey, you guys, I have the same copy, Silmarillion copy, that PJ had bookmarked on his table.
And
yes,
so do we.
We all do. Now,
I personally don't have this copy yet, and I'm really kind of bummed about that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I never picked it up.
Should we start with Beren and Luthien, or should we start with Aragorn and Arwen?
Let's start with Aragorn and Arwen, because that one's a little bit easier to get through.
Yeah, and it's the one that people are most familiar with.
Yeah.
All right, and you know what? I'm sorry, Justin, but I don't know if I can read all of this, but I might get through some of... I might get through most of it. Let's see what we can get here.
All right.
You guys dig out your copies of The Return of the King, or if you have a combined edition of Lord of the Rings, get it out right now and read along with me. We're going to go to Appendix A, and way down there in Appendix A, with Roman numeral part 5, it says, here follows a part of the tale, excuse me. Here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. You can find it in my red letter edition on page 337, and it's right after the bit in Appendix A, which talks about the line of the stewards and the kings. You see where it says, Part 4, Gondor and the heirs of Anarion, and go straight on to Part 5, here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. There is real love in Middle-earth, and it is so often the case with Tolkien that true love is combined with true tragedy. But in some cases, it's just a bittersweet tragedy that people don't always get in touch with because they don't read the appendix. They don't read the appendices.
Yeah.
But Peter and Fran and Philippa did a very, very nice job in The Return of the King it was Aragorn getting older, holding his son up there, and there was Arwen starting to realize the way her father was explaining what her fate would be.
I really liked that scene where Arwen sees the vision of her son, and sort of takes that as a positive she takes it as a positive outcome of this whole thing after Elrond had given her this huge doom and gloom speech about how you will wither away and your husband will die before you and you will be all alone in a dying world and just like this awful, just like no hope
it's hard.
Speech.
That's hardcore.
And then she's like, I'll also have a son and we'll also have many happy years together.
And we will create a new line of kings of Gondor.
Yeah.
There's that too, right?
Exactly.
Well, Cliff, I asked you, let's do a show about the love stories in Middle-earth, and your first response is, everything is tragic.
There is. Yeah. It is inescapable. The
There's
tragedy...
no just love story that isn't tragic?
No, the tragedy's on screen in the film. You saw it yourself.
Well, I mean, the tragedy with these love stories is that they always have to come to an end. And I think that's something that... that Tolkien kind of acknowledges is like even these wonderful, beautiful love stories, they spend many, many years together, sometimes in most cases centuries together, they always have to come to an end.
They do. But
you said it was more tragic than just coming to
because there's a cost involved for any immortal being to give up their immortality for the sake of a transient love that only lasts on the surface of the earth for a short time.
That's the ultimate lesson of Lord of the Rings.
Well,
the Lord of the Rings is about death and deathlessness, and that's what Tolkien said.
There is one love story in the Silmarillion that is long-lasting and immortal, at least up to a point.
Sam and Rosie?
No.
That's my favorite romance is Sam and Rosie.
I love Sam and Rosie.
I love Sam. They're my favorite.
I said the Silmarillion. I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about Thingol and Melian.
Oh, Thingol and Melian. Yeah, they have a very.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Because you've never read the Silmarillion. Oh, look, it's Justin.
Thingol is Thimble. Look, I just wanted to, before you guys get started on your talk about all the love stories, I just want to say that Omar from Houston.
Hey, Omar from Houston.
We haven't heard from you in so long.
That's our buddy Omar from Houston.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's got a great family. He's awesome.
He's been one of our most passionate and loyal followers ever since the road trips.
He's one of our original crew.
Yeah,
who joined us on the road trip.
He's asking if we will ever throw another One Ring party, and I just wanted to answer this real quick because
One Ring party.
Because it's still winter, but I'm doing spring cleaning because it's 75 degrees here in Los Angeles, and it's just sunny and warm, and there's no wind. So I'm cleaning out, and I found all these old vinyl banners from the one party and unused gift bags and stuff. So I called up some of the administrators and I'm like, hey, do you want to like just clean out all this old party stuff? They're like, don't throw it out. We might have another use for it. So, you never know when we're going to throw another party. You never know when Peter Jackson is going to go back to Middle Earth.
And the truth is, like, even if he doesn't for decades, our community is so strong. Like, why don't we just throw a party, just like for the heck of it?
Well, we throw parties for Bilbo's birthday party every year.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
That's true. We do.
Okay, Aravandi makes a good point. Technically, Arundel and Elwing are still alive.
That's true. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Hey, you know what? I have an idea. Why don't we throw a huge, huge, huge party in a few years when Peter Jackson and Michael Pellerin do the ultimate unicorn edition of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films with all the extras put in, the outtakes we've missed, all the extra added scenes. It'd be awesome.
They haven't announced it, but it's going to happen at some point in our lives. And when it does,
I'm down.
I am definitely going to be
so down.
But the big thing, and we talked a little bit about this last week, because every week someone asks, like, the thing is that we didn't throw the party.
Yeah.
You guys threw the party.
That's true.
Like, through crowdfunding and Indiegogo.
We just put it together. You guys brought us the money, and we're able to get it.
We just put it on Kickstarter.
You were able to facilitate us doing this.
Yeah, if you guys want to do another party, like, send us a note. Click the contact us on the main page and say we're ready to throw another party. Maybe we could do a party anytime we want because we're hobbits.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need a reason to party. But the fact is that we don't throw parties. You throw parties. We just organize them with your support. And it's the same with the road trip.
We just organize them and host them.
We just organized them. Like, we got the support from... And we got to stay at people's houses. Jordan and Memphis. So many people opened their doors.
Like so
much fun. And that was... Like, we do things because of the love. And let's tell Valentine's Day. It's the love of you guys that allow us to, like, have fun and go to these conventions and stuff like that. So just because we're not doing as much stuff at Dragon Con or anything like that, or don't have booths and stuff, it doesn't mean that we don't want to do
That's a great
stuff.
name. Jean Bourgeois says the ultimate party. That's it. Yeah. When we get the ultimate 6-movie edition,
the unicorn party.
We want we'll have the ultimate,
like the unicorn party, the ultimate party.
Now,
there's lots of great names for it.
That may be one fantastical creature that has never, ever appeared in Tolkien's Legendarium, a unicorn.
Indiana asked if we're going to
Not to my knowledge,
Not mine either,
to the party. Indiana on Instagram asks, are we going to invite bearded dwarven women to the party? The answer is yes.
Always.
They're always at the party.
Yes.
The triplets, the three sisters.
We had bearded
dwarven
women at the last party.
The Ring sisters have full beards. Like,
yeah.
The answer is yes.
It's not our. Wait a minute.
Yes.
It's not our first day on Periscope. We've been on Periscope for quite a while.
Bluebell 57's first day on Periscope.
I thought that Bluebell was saying it's their, meaning us.
No, it's theirs.
That's okay. That's Bluebell's first day. Oh, well, that's good. Well,
welcome to Periscope, Bluebell 57.
Welcome to Periscope. Welcome to Twitter Live,
it's
Facebook
true.
Live, theonering.net.
We at our events and our parties, we have bearded dwarven women. We have magical elves. We even have 7-foot-tall wizards and mouths of Saurons
and more hobbits than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
That sounds really great. Now, Seth Lippa here in our Facebook chat is asking about the Unicorn Edition. And if you don't know, we'll give you details. The question says, is that an extended edition, perfect, crisp, finished video, or a bunch more special features and commentary and scenes that never really got finished? Not that it matters, just curious.
The answer is yes.
And the answer is also yes. And the next answer is yes. And my last answer is yes, it matters. Yes, it matters. It definitely matters to us. If you are curious to find out what the scandal was, go to theonering.net, type in the words. What were the words? Bemused, or what did I title it?
Oh God, I don't
remember. It was my. I wrote an attack piece against Warner Brothers Home Video because everyone around the world was so pissed off when they released a 6-film edition that was $800 that did not include any new material.
Nothing.
It was just repackaging old discs.
It was all repackaged, repurposed stuff we all have.
So it
was just in a much nicer package.
Yes.
Not $800 worth of nice, but a nicer package.
And the thing is that we had a long interview in this very studio with Michael Pellerin, who made the behind-the-scenes appendices for all 6 Middle-earth films. And it turns out that Peter Jackson had planned to make a larger, complete mega edition that included all those things that you asked about, including more scenes for all 6 films, outtakes that have never been seen, gag reels, lots of jokes and gag reels, tons of other footage, and even more in-depth documentaries to explain the production process and the angst that they went through making those 6 films. And there was a lot of struggles making them.
Oh, yeah.
So we have heard, and we reported on it very thoroughly, that Warner Brothers refused when Peter Jackson said, let me make this Ultimate Edition. And they said, no, we're not going to spend any money on it. We're just going to regurgitate these old discs and put it in a nice box. And then all the fans around the world felt like they were getting their teeth kicked in. Mm-hmm. We felt insulted. And so I wrote an editorial. It is an editorial called the UCE. And it was like, what was it called? Bewildered or Bemused?
Yeah, it was like...
That's right. So look it up on theonering.net, or you can Google search, type into the One Ring Net, and then UCE,
I think Justin
Ultimate
was
Collector's
just
Edition.
To post a link in the chat, but
And
it doesn't
they
quite work.
Put it in there. You'll find it. So, and that's what that was all about. So here we go. In the future, I think Peter and Michael Pellerin intend on reapproaching it at the 20th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring.
I'd be okay with that.
And that's 4 years away.
Yeah, it's about 4 years from now.
Not bad. Not bad. Oh, there it is.
That gives us time to
Outraged.
plan.
That's it. Outraged
Outraged
or
or
bemused.
Yeah,
Well,
a
if
little
you
bit of both.
Thank you. I thought that was we really did cover that as best as we could.
Yeah, I feel like we
had a lot of coverage
My reaction
on
was
that story.
just I was disappointed. It's like
Nah.
I was ready to like just tweet out to Warner Brothers. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Wow. Okay. Hello, Peyton, a fan from Canada, texting us to estimate how tall Maethros is. Gosh, how could we estimate how tall Maethros is?
Maethros.
If Tolkien does not tell us how tall these Balrogs, elves, Valar, and Maiar, if he never tells us how tall they are, then any amount of speculation we have is just shouting in the wind.
Well,
we really don't know how tall Maethros was.
Well, Maethros.
Do you have a clue?
Well, Maethros was he was an elf, wasn't he? He was one of the sons of Feanor.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so he would have been. I feel like elves generally are like around 6 feet.
Generally, they cap out at about 6 feet tall. That's what he said. Yeah.
And I believe like the Noldor from that time were maybe a little bit taller, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong.
And he's also asking about some pronunciation questions for the words Este.
Arathel.
Arathel. Whenever you encounter a DH, the combination of letter D as in David, H as in Harold, you put the DH together in Tolkien, in Elvish, and it produces a th, a TH.
A light th.
A light th. So that's when they mention the name of the mountain, Carathras. Well, the mountain that got snowed in by the evil spells of Saruman, and the Fellowship decided they couldn't go that way. Well, I had made a mistake when I was a little boy reading it as Caradras.
Yeah, me
and it's
too.
not Caradras, it's Carathras. And we figured that out much, much later when we got older. So the same applies for Maethros and Arathel.
Arathel, and then we have Vaire.
Ooh, Vaire. Oh, that's a good one, Vaire.
And Feanor.
And Feanor, which is Feanor. There you go. So we got that.
Feanor is a wonderful, tragic character.
Good stuff, Omar. Omar's the best. So, since it's the day for...
Eravandi saying I butcher Tolkien's pronunciation on a regular basis. Talk to the guy who talked about the Silmarillion for 30 hours.
30 hours.
Oh, God. Pronouncing all those names was rough.
If you guys have any further questions about pronunciation of words, talk to Stephen Colbert, because he knows most than anybody.
he does. Although I still feel like if I were to, like, I know he's kind of put out the call for anybody to challenge him.
We love you too,
with
Pixie.
With Tolkien knowledge, I'm like, I could take him up on that challenge. I feel like I could hold my own against Stephen Colbert.
It would be great.
Yeah.
We should do like a fun bit on his show
Yeah.
where he pulls like a panel of us together.
Yeah.
And the three of us like on a game show panel against
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
That'd be a fun bit.
That would be so much fun.
He'd probably just kick our asses
He
left
probably,
and right.
He probably
It'd be-
would. Well, I don't know. Like, I feel like we would hold our own better than most people that he usually like brings the hurt to.
Hello, Brazil. It's so good to have you in the live Facebook, my friend. We have Brazil right here, and we have Chile, Argentina. We have so many people, Colombia, and of course, many, many wonderful people from sub-Saharan Africa, Europe, all across Europe, staying up till 1 or 3 in the morning. Thank you for staying up so late. And for you folks here in the Western Hemisphere, it's really awesome to have you with us. Thank you for joining the show. So how were elves turned into orcs? Well,
they were tortured.
They were tortured and twisted.
This goes all the way back to the very beginning of elves when they first came to Middle Earth. They woke up in a valley called Cuiviénen.
By the shores of a huge inland sea.
Yes.
The waters of Cuiviénen.
And
yes.
And but the world was in darkness, so they were very closed in. They sort of stuck to what they knew. They stuck to the valley they were in, but a few who wandered off were picked up by Melkor.
Melkor's bad boys, yeah.
Melkor, and it's also, Tolkien postulates, it also might have been Sauron, because Sauron was Melkor's right-hand man.
And doing outside operations on behalf of Big Daddy Melkor.
Right.
Who ended up taking the name Morgoth.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so what he would do is he would take those stragglers, take them back to his fortress.
Fangorodrim.
Yes. And
yes.
And he would torture them, and he would mutilate them, and he would break them psychologically to the point where they just completely gave themselves over to him, and he began breeding them that way.
The ultimate POWs.
And that's how we get orcs. And it's interesting in the story of Turin Turambar, we meet an elf who actually escaped from the fortress while being tortured and enslaved, and he really is he used to be this great elf prince, and for the life of me I can't remember his name. I feel so bad that I'm not able to remember these names.
Don't worry, one of our friends in the chat will know who it is.
Somebody will know it. And he was broken. Like, he was completely a broken, beaten elf, and he never really regained the presence he had before he was captured.
Are we to understand it was a combination of dark magic, evil magic, and torture?
Well, you see, this is the thing. Tolkien deliberately says
he left it kind of nebulous.
He left it ambiguous because the Silmarillion is supposed to be an elvish history.
Yes.
So this is information that the elves themselves weren't privy to, so they sort of leave it open to speculation.
So I see. And the elves may not even want to talk about in a clinical way about what happened to them.
They don't. Of course they try not to dwell on that too much, except to say that's probably what happened. So
Indiana in the chat says, so they shouldn't look so hideous as they did in the movie. No, they should look as hideous as they should have looked.
Yeah, because this is over millennia of breeding and torturing these people, these elves. So the orcs themselves have actually become a completely different species at this point.
It also ties in the suggestion that orcs also share the same immortality that elves do. As there's some conversations among the orcs of Mordor in the Lord of the Rings where they mention, remember what it was like in the good old days?
Yeah.
There's one little sideline of dialogue where the orcs, one of the Shagrats or the Snagas, are talking to each other, and they're reminiscing about the good old days, and that may be a weird reference to the First Age.
It could be.
Could be.
It could be, because the thing you have to know about Melkor or Morgoth is that his main MO was to take everything in the world and create a twisted, dark version of it.
Corrupt it, destroy it, mar it, to scar it, mar it, ruin it, stain it, poison it. That was Morgoth's modus operandi.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like that goes all the way back to the formation of the world. When the Valar would raise up a mountain, he'd plunge it down into an ocean. If they create a forest, he'd create a desert. Like all stuff like that.
There's also a lot of lore that points to the trolls and the creation of trolls as a corrupted bastardization of the Ents, or the spirits of the shepherds of the trees that were more earth-like and tree-like, and those creatures that were so tied to the earth as Ents and to the botany and the land, by their corruption and by that process, Morgoth created trolls from that source.
And you can find those
stock.
You can find those dark parallels in everything. Like the fell beasts are a dark parallel of the eagles.
Indeed. Now we're gonna not talk about evil, dark things.
We've kind of gone way off track at this point.
That happens
I know.
when we're dealing with a live show, and I really love having a live show, but we have business to attend to, so let's get right down to it. St. Valentine's Day brings lovers together, and husbands and wives, all kissy face, and cupcakes, and roses, and champagne, and watching The Bachelor. I don't know why. I don't watch that show, but everyone loves it. And since we're in the mood for love, we're going to talk about some of the greatest lovers in Middle-earth. So let's skim down a little bit into Appendix A in The Return of the King.
Part 5.
Here you go. Here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. And boy, this goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay, so...
And this is just a part of it.
Here you go. Now, here you go. And it happened that when Arathorn and Gilraen, and that would be Aragorn's mom and dad, Arathorn and Gilraen, you saw her gravestone in the extended version of Fellowship of the Ring, okay? And it happened when Arathorn and Gilraen had been married only 1 year, the land of Arador was taken by hill trolls in the cold fells north of Rivendell and was slain. So, and that would be Aragorn's granddad. Arador was taken by hill trolls and slain, and Arathorn became chieftain of the Dunedain. The next year, Gilraen bore him a son, and he was called Aragorn. But Aragorn was only 2 years old when Arathorn went riding against the orcs with the sons of Elrond, and he was slain by an orc arrow that pierced his eye. Ugh. So, he proved indeed short-lived for one of his race, being but 60 years old when he fell. Then Aragorn...
He was just a kid.
Yeah, he was just a 2-year-old lad.
Yeah.
Now, not many people know that Aragorn...
I was talking about Arathorn.
Oh, yeah, Arathorn was just a kid in Dunedain terms.
In Dunedain terms, yeah.
At 60 years old, he was just young as we see Aragorn in the films.
Yeah.
So Arathorn died at 60. The little boy was an orphan at 2 years old, and the story continues. Then Aragorn, being now the heir of Isildur, was taken with his mother to dwell in the house of Elrond. And Elrond took the place of his father and came to love him as a son of his own. But he was called Estel, that is, hope, and his true name and lineage was kept secret at the bidding of Elrond, for the wise then knew that the enemy was seeking to discover the heir of Isildur, if any remained upon the earth. And now imagine how bad that is. Your mom takes you to live in the house of the elves. Your dad is dead. Your grandfather's dead. All within a couple of years. You
now have to live in hiding.
And you have to live like Edward Snowden, afraid of extradition or someone coming to get you.
Right.
You know, or it's like it reminds me of our characters in Rogue One. We meet them at the beginning of the film, and they're in hiding from the Empire. The dude who was designing the Death Star, he wants to go live somewhere in hiding.
Though,
you know,
at this point in time, the
enemy's after you.
Sauron was not a huge presence in Middle-earth at this time because he'd already been defeated at the Battle of the Last Alliance.
Yes.
And he was regaining power, and he was trying to collect power to him.
And the Nine had not reappeared.
No, the Nine had not reappeared. So Sauron was not an immediate threat, but he was this lingering what if.
Yeah, very much so.
But there couldn't be any... The elves took that to heart in a big way.
Yeah, and there couldn't be any whisper of information about that little boy, Aragorn. So, politically, this is intriguing to me that the elves would take a stance of protection for the sake of Gondor, for the sake of old Númenórean line, which became the Dunedain of the North. That's interesting to me. Why would they be so supportive?
Well, I feel like because the surviving Númenóreans who came back to Middle-earth, they were the ones who stayed loyal to the elves and the Valar.
That's right, they did.
So there is a level of camaraderie between the elves and the Númenóreans.
Here we go. Here's where it gets good, guys. But when Estel, that's the secret pseudonym for Aragorn, when Estel was only 20 years of age, it chanced that he returned to Rivendell after great deeds in the company of the sons of Elrond, and Elrond looked at him and was pleased, for he saw that he was fair and noble, and was early come to manhood, though he would yet become greater in body and mind. That day, therefore, Elrond called him by his true name. told him who he really was and whose son, and he delivered to him the heirlooms of his house. Here is the ring of Barahir, the one that Wormtongue gets a real close view at when he's spitting on Aragorn, and describes that ring to Christopher Lee so beautifully.
And that ring plays prominently in the tale of
That's
Beren
right,
and
it
Luthien.
does. He gave him the ring of Barahir, and he said, the token of our kinship from afar. And here also are the shards of Narsil. With these you may yet do great deeds, for I foretell that the span of your life shall be greater than the measure of men, unless evil befalls you, or you fail at the test. But the test will be hard and long. The scepter of Anúminas I withhold, for you have yet to earn it. The next day, at the hour of sunset, Aragorn walked alone in the woods. Here we go.
Yep. I call this the Tolkien meet cute.
This is the Tolkien meet cute. Here it comes. The next day, at the hour of sunset, Aragorn walked alone in the woods, and his heart was high within him. And he sang. He sang. Like that beautiful man singing at his coronation in the third film.
Yeah.
Aragorn was a singer. Man had pipes.
Yeah.
The man had pipes. He knew how to sing. I love this.
I
love this.
He was raised in Imladris. There was singing all the time.
Singing in music, even though the dwarves didn't like the music in Imladris in Rivendell. This is good stuff. And this is why it was so important for Aragorn to say to Peter Jackson, I want to do this bit. I want to sing this melody at the coronation scene. It wasn't in the original script.
Oh, really?
It was Aragorn's idea.
You mean it was Vigo's idea?
It was Vigo's idea. From everything
that's a
I've heard, it was Vigo's
fantastic
idea.
touch. That's a wonderful
And
touch.
they believed him. He added it in, and he created that little mini melody himself.
It's wonderful.
And it's fantastic.
And
I'm digging it.
It's 100% Aragorn.
It is so Aragorn. I love that. And here it is. He was full of hope, and the world was fair. And suddenly, even as he sang, he saw a maiden walking in a greensward among the white stems of the birches. And he halted, amazed, thinking that he had strayed into a dream. That's why we get that bit in the movie where this must be a dream. And she says, that it is a good dream.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So he thought he was in a dream. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse. Adele has to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear. I got to start over for him. I didn't mean to swear. Really, I apologize. I apologize, everyone. Please, let's start over. I didn't mean to swear. I'm sorry. Let's start over. Okay? That's my Adele bit.
Nice.
Sorry. I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. And he halted amazed, thinking that he had strayed into a dream, or else he had received the gift of the elf minstrels, who can make the things of which they sing appear before the eyes of those that listen. For Aragorn had been singing a part of the Lay of Luthien, which tells of the meeting of Luthien and Beren in the forest of Neldoreth. And behold, there Luthien walked before his eyes in Rivendell, clad in a mantle of silver and blue, fair in the twilight of elven home. Her dark hair strayed in a sudden wind, and her brows were bound with gems like stars. Those gems are always like stars, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Gems are always like stars. I love it. For a moment, Aragorn gazed in silence, but fearing that she would pass away and never be seen again, he called out to her, crying, Tinuviel! Tinuviel! Even as Beren had done in the elder days long ago.
Yep.
Then the maiden turned to him and smiled, and she said, My daddy sings for a rock band.
I'm just realizing now, Aragorn was kind of a dork.
He was such a nerd. Aragorn was like, don't walk away, beautiful thing. Where are you? Okay, no, so, and then the maiden turned to him and smiled, and she said, my daddy sings for a very popular rock band for that, remember that crappy movie we did, Armageddon? No, she didn't say that.
No, she didn't say
Sorry.
that. No.
She said
that to Ben Affleck.
She said, who are you? Why do you call me by that name? And he answered, because I believed you to be, indeed, Luthien, Tinuviel, of whom I was singing. But if you're not she, then you walk in her likeness. That's flattery. Mm-hmm. That's flattery. Ah, so many have said, she answered gravely. That's really not a nice opening line.
No.
Okay, because of the tragedy of, Anyways, so many have said, she answered gravely, yet her name is not mine, though maybe my doom will be not unlike hers. But who are you?
Well, that's a come on if I ever heard it.
Yeah, but it's also like huge foreshadowing. He's foreshadowing the whole thing, and she's like...
But, like, it's kind of surprising, like, the first thing she says to him is, well, I'm not Luthien, but maybe I could be.
I'm not Luthien, but I could play one on TV. That's what she said. No, we really have to stop. We're really like, what do you call this? We're like filking. We're really we're messing this up.
We're ripping it too much.
It's too bad. This is not the MST3K version of Beren and Luthien and Aragorn and Arwen. But please let me continue, because love is in the air. La 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 la. Here you go. And in response, she says, "But who are you?" "Estelle, I was called," he said, "but I am Aragorn, Arathorn's son, Isildur's heir, Lord of the Dunedain." Yet even in the saying, he felt that this high lineage, in which his heart had rejoiced, was now of little worth, and as nothing compared to her dignity and her loveliness. But she laughed merrily, and she said, "Ha, then we are akin from afar, for I am Arwen, Elrond's daughter, and I am named also Undomiel." Undomiel.
The Even Star.
The Even Star. "Often it is seen," said Aragorn, "that in dangerous days men hide their chief treasure. Yet I marvel at Elrond and your brothers, for though I have dwelt in this house from childhood," which means he had been in the house for 18 years and did not know about her.
Right.
That's a bit odd. He says, "Though I have dwelt in this house from childhood, I've heard no word of you. How comes it that we've never met before? Surely your father has not kept you locked in his hoard." "No," she said, and looked up at the mountains that rose in the east. "I have dwelt for a time in the land of my mother's kin, in far Lothlorien. I have but lately returned to visit my father again. It is many years since I walked in Imladris." Then Aragorn wondered, for she had seemed of no greater age than he, who had lived yet no more than a score of years in Middle-earth. But Arwen looked in his eyes and said, "Do not wonder, for the children of Elrond have the life of the Eldar." So when he first met her, he was confused about whether she was of lineage of men or lineage of elves.
Right. And
intriguing. That's intriguing. Nobody mentioned her name. He lived there for 18 years. Nobody mentioned her. He's running around having adventures with Eladan and Elrohir.
Right.
They didn't even mention, "By the way, you got to meet my sister. She's a hottie."
Yeah, right.
What the hell is that all about?
The elves are very stoic.
The elves are way stoic, way stoic. So here we go. Then Aragorn was abashed, for he saw the elven light in her eyes and the wisdom of many days. Yet from that hour, he loved Arwen Undomiel, daughter of Elrond. There you go. And that's how they first met. Yeah. So that's the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
That's a lovely bit. A lovely, lovely bit. So let's examine some of this, what we've learned.
Yeah.
Okay? Elves are good at keeping secrets. Do you think Elrond may have had a foresight? We are constantly told in the books, and we see it in the movies, that Elrond, half-elven, has the gift of foresight.
He does have foresight,
It's part of Vilya.
Right.
It's part of the power of the elven ring that he wears, is to have a foresight.
It is certainly possible, just knowing...
That might be the case.
Knowing how Elrond is rather protective of Arwen, he could have seen that she would one day marry Aragorn.
He could have.
And so he's just trying to stave off that inevitable meeting as much as possible.
It's interesting.
Which could be why Arwen spends so much time in Lothlorien.
Do you also think that there was an edict from Dad, Elrond, telling his twin sons, Eladan and Elrohir, "Don't talk to anybody else about my daughter. Just don't"?
It could be.
That's an abundance of caution, don't you think? I find this very intriguing.
Well, I mean, I can understand from Elrond's perspective why he would want to stave that off, because he knows, and we see it in the movie, that he knows that if Arwen and Aragorn get together, she's going to give up her immortality to be with him. and that breaks his heart.
Here you go. Now let's skip forward to this other bit, because I really love this part. It came to pass that when Aragorn was 49 years of age, he returned from perils in the dark confines of Mordor, where Sauron now dwelt again and was busy with evil. We're still at the opening stages before the War of the Ring happens, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this would have been...
Keep up with me now.
This would have been...
He was 49.
He was 49,
Yeah.
so he was 80-something in Lord of the Rings. So this would have been maybe a decade or two after the events in The Hobbit.
Yes, okay? So this is the bit I read a few minutes ago. Aragorn was 20 years old. Flash forward, Aragorn is now 49.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where we're at right here now, okay? He was weary, and he wished to go back to Rivendell and rest there for a while, ere he journeyed into the far countries. And on his way, he came to the borders of Lorien and was admitted to the hidden land by the lady Galadriel. He did not know it, but Arwen Undomiel was also there, dwelling again for a time with the kin of her mother. She was little changed. That happens with elves. Mm-hmm. She was little changed, for the mortal years had passed her by, yet her face was more grave, and her laughter now seldom was heard. But Aragorn had grown to full stature of body and mind, and Galadriel bade him cast aside his way-worn raiment, and she clothed him in silver and white, with a cloak of elven grey, and, get this, a bright gem on his brow. Then, more than any kind of men he appeared, and seemed rather an elf lord from the Isles of the West. Reference to Valinor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thus it was that Arwen first beheld him again after their long parting, and as he came walking towards her under the trees of Caras Galadhon, laden with flowers of gold, her choice was made and her doom appointed. Bam.
There you go.
That's it. Then for a season, that means she just fell for him.
Yeah.
She was smitten like a kitten.
There was no denying it.
No denying it. She was smitten like a kitten when he was 49. You know what? That's so awesome.
Hey, you know what? I'll be lucky if I can get a lovely elf maiden at 49.
I just turned 48. And I got them lined up out the door. I got
I
lovely elf maidens lined up out the door. Look,
I just turned
look at them.
40, so
right
I got to work at it.
So awesome. So awesome. This dude's awesome. Okay, let me continue, guys, just a little bit here, okay?
I like Iravandi saying, and she thought, dang, he cleans up
Yes,
nice.
that's right, Iravandi. She thought he cleaned up really, really nice. That is exactly right. No, this is really good. This is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's the story where it's all sweet and romantic. Best appropriate story for Valentine's Day, before it gets tragic and sad at the end. Then for a season they wandered together in the glades of Lothlorien until it was time for him to depart. And on the evening of midsummer, Aragorn, Arathorn's son, and Arwen, daughter of Elrond, went to the fair hill Carin Amroth, and in the midst of the land, and they walked unshod on the undying grass, with Elenor and Nephredil about their feet. And there upon that hill they looked east to the shadow, and west to the twilight, and they plighted their troth, and were glad.
Nice.
They plighted their troth.
Okay.
So Shakespearean.
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt too much, but Kaiten Suji is making a point. Her choice was made, and her doom decided. And says that's sad. And I want to make a distinction here, because when Tolkien uses the word doom, he's not referring to something bad. Doom means fate or destiny. So it can be a good thing.
Yep.
And I feel like in the case of Aragorn and Arwen, their doom is a good thing.
And Arwen said, "Dark is the shadow, and yet my heart rejoices, for you, Estelle, shall be among the great, whose valor will destroy it." But Aragorn answered, "Alas, I cannot foresee it, and how it may come to pass is hidden from me. Yet with your hope I will hope, and the shadow I utterly reject. But neither, lady, is the twilight for me, for I am mortal, and if you will cleave to me, Evenstar, then the twilight you must also renounce." And she stood then as still as a white tree, looking into the west, and at last she said, I will cleave to you, Dunadan, and turn from the twilight. Yet there lies in the land of my people and the long home all of my kin. She loved her father dearly. Wow. When Elrond learned of the choice of his daughter, he was silent, though his heart was grieved, and found the doom long feared none the easier to endure. Ooh, bad. So this is where the tension happens between adopted father saying, you're taking my daughter away from me.
And this is what I'm talking about with Elrond putting off the meeting of these two for so long, because he could see this was going to happen.
Yep. My son, this is Aragorn listening to Elrond, okay? When Aragorn came again to Rivendell and called to him, Elrond said, my son, years come when hope will fade, and beyond them little is clear to me, and now a shadow lies between us. Maybe it has been appointed so. Maybe. That by my loss the kingship of men may be restored. Therefore, though I love you, I say to you, Arwen Undomiel shall not diminish. Her life's grace for less cause, she shall not be the bride of any man less than the king of both Gondor and Arnor. To me, then, even our victory can bring only sorrow and parting. But to you, hope of joy for a while. Alas, my son, I fear that to Arwen the doom of men may seem hard at the ending. So it stood afterwards between Elrond and Aragorn, and they spoke no more of the matter. But Aragorn went forth again to danger and toil, and while the world darkened and fear fell on Middle-earth, as the power of Sauron grew in Barad-dûr, and Barad-dûr rose even higher, taller, and stronger, Arwen remained in Rivendell, and when Aragorn was abroad, from afar she watched over him and thought. That means she was thinking, she was extending her mind out to him from Rivendell. And in hope, she made for him a great and kingly standard, such as only one might display who claimed the lordship of the Númenóreans and the inheritance of Elendil. And that covers that beautiful standard that she actually is holding in the coronation scene in The Return of the King. She made that standard for him.
Yeah. I liked Kaiten Suji was making a point. Anyone else getting Shakespeare vibes here?
Yep, lots of Shakespeare vibes.
Totally.
So there's a little glimpse into the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. It's so good. You guys dig out your appendix.
It's interesting.
Read it.
It's interesting that like all of this was happening decades before the events in The Lord of the Rings, but in the movie, Peter Jackson was able to transpose all of that into the movie because at the time of The Lord of the Rings, all of this stuff had already passed. Aragorn had already gone through his personal crisis of whether or not he was destined to be king. He'd already gone through his arguments with Elrond and his whether or not he really should be with Arwen, knowing what's going to happen. And Peter Jackson decided that he was going to have all that happen in the movies to add some nice dramatic tension to Aragorn, and I think it really, really worked.
It does. Yeah, it works rather well. Yeah. We have a question on the hotline. Thank you guys for joining us on the live show. We're going to talk about Beren and Luthien in a few minutes, and you can help us do some real good compare and contrast with the Aragorn and Arwen bit, and how Beren and Luthien is the template that Tolkien wanted to follow again, because he felt that that was such a noble and beautiful story. It deserved to be reflected again generations later.
That was like, Beren and Luthien is like his ultimate love story, like even to the point where Tolkien and his wife are buried together, and their gravestones say Beren and Luthien.
And Luthien. Yes, that's right there. So we have a question from the chatter. Hey, look at that number, 530-64-FRODO. You can send us messages, you can call us on the chat, and pretty soon I'll open up the Skype and we can take some calls on Skype a little bit later. We have a wonderful question about, hey, got any ideas about a Tolkien-related tattoo from the Silmarillion? Because our friend is thinking that most people get LOTR quotes, and those are overused and overdone. So our
There-
friend is looking for Silmarillion quotes that might be really suitable for body art.
There are some wonderful Silmarillion quotes, and like I'm gonna have to like go back into the book to find like specific ones. But
I'll find one for you right now.
Okay, go for it.
I'll keep that page for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a good quote for you from the Silmarillion.
There's some great ones from Feanor's speech to the Noldor. There's some wonderful ones in the story of Turin Turambar, and of course there's plenty in Beren and Luthien. It's just trying to find a specific one that looks really good on body art.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. A Feanor and the Unchaining of Melkor.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's one of my favorite images.
Oh, yeah. That's the March of Fingolfin.
Yeah, across the grinding ice. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So let's see here. Wow. There's so many things in here. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
Here we go. How about...
Oh, here it is. Here's his speech to the Noldor.
This is Feanor's big angry speech. Mm-hmm. This might be interesting to make how about that's a terrible thing, the Oath of Feanor.
It really is, but
it's terrible. It's powerful.
But it's said with such passion, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many of the Eldar heard then, for the first time, of the aftercomers. Fair shall the end be, he cried, though long and hard shall be the road. Say farewell to bondage, but say farewell also to ease. Say farewell to the weak. Say farewell to your treasures. More still we shall make. Journey light, but bring with you your swords, for we will go further than Orome, endure longer than Tolkas. We will never turn back from pursuit. After Morgoth, to the ends of the earth, war shall we have. War shall we have, and hatred undying. There's a quote for you. Get that tattooed on your body. War shall we have, and hatred undying. Wow. No, I would never want that tattooed on me.
No, that's a little harsh.
But when we have conquered and we have regained the Silmarils, then we and we alone shall be the lords of the unsullied light, and masters of the beauty and bliss of Arda. No other race shall oust us. Wow, that's a terrible oath.
Yeah, that's a little nationalist.
Yeah. Oh my God, we've been hearing enough of that lately, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. But let's just leave the Silmarillion quotes for now, because a lot of them are hardcore, and I'm not immediately thinking of a nice light one that might be a.
There are good ones in there.
You might find one later.
I just need to. Yeah.
Okay.
I need to sit down with it. Okay. So
about Beren and Luthien.
Okay, so Beren and Luthien. I want to set a little bit of the timeline here. This takes place a good few thousand years before before the Lord of the Rings.
Yep. In the First Age.
Yeah, this is the First Age. All of this even takes place on a continent that by the time we get to the Lord of the Rings no longer exists.
Beleriand.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And this all exists in kingdoms that no longer exist. The only connection between Beren and Luthien and the Lord of the Rings is Sauron.
Yeah.
Sauron plays a role in this story.
Yeah.
But I love the opening line of this in the Silmarillion because it really just summarizes the whole thing. Among the tales of sorrow and of ruin that come down to us from the darkness of those days, there are yet some in which amid weeping there is joy, and under the shadow of death light that endures. And of these histories most fair still in the ears of the elves is the tale of Beren and Luthien.
Ah, yes.
Of their lives was made the lay of Leithien, released from bondage, which is the longest save one of the songs concerning the world of old. But here the tale is told in fewer words and without song.
And fewer words and without the poetry.
Without the poetry.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, right out of the gate, he's telling you, like, listen, this is chapter 19 of the Silmarillion. We've gone through 18 chapters of just hardcore battle, tragedy, and death.
Yep.
And he finally opens this up and says, okay, I'm going to give you a happy story now.
Finally. After the bloodletting, the kinslaying, the destruction of the two trees, and giant Ungoliant, like, trying to suck up all the light of the world.
The siege of Angband, and then
mess.
And then the Dagor Bragolok, where everything the elves had built for centuries gets completely undone.
Yep.
And that's where this story picks up.
Yep. Oh, there you go. We only got 1 hour. See, Instagram only gives us 1 hour.
Oh.
All right, so let's start it again.
Okay. All right, so...
Let's start it again. Hey, Justin, where are you? Start live video.
All right, so...
there we go. We're going to restart. 3, 2, 1.
What, is that Periscope?
It's and we're back
hello.
online. Thank you guys for joining us.
All right, so so to paint a little picture of where all this takes place, this is after one of the biggest battles in the history of Middle-earth, the Dagor Bragollach, the Battle of Sudden Flame. I love the battle names in this.
Dagor Bragollach.
It's like, even in Elvish it sounds awesome, but in English it sounds awesome too. It's the Battle of the Sudden Flame.
Yeah, it does. It sounds crazy. It's crazy.
And this is...
it stopped, but welcome back. Thank you for the hearts.
And this is so this battle has just happened. Orcs and trolls are sweeping through all of the lands.
Yeah.
They've had their first battle ever with the father of dragons, Glaurung.
Glaurung. Boy, he's a badass.
And this was Glaurung's first appearance. He wasn't really at the height of his power, so he was able to get pushed back pretty easily. But still, tons of damage was done, and Beren was the son of a lord named Barahir. And Barahir had worked with an elf king, Finrod.
That's right, Finrod.
And he'd actually saved Finrod's life, and so Finrod gave him a ring, and this is the Ring of Barahir. He gives him this ring as a pledge that when Barahir or his heirs need aid, he will come.
Right? So it was an early oath between elves and men. It was kind of like one of the earlier alliances of trust and bonding.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, elves and men had been working together for some time.
Yep.
But this was a big deal. This was like a really big deal because he had just saved Finrod's life, and Finrod had pledged his life to Barahir in exchange for that, or in payment for that. And so Barahir and his family have been driven off of their lands, and they've been pushed back by the orcs all the way into a land that is known as, I believe it's a Dorthonian. And this is they go into this area basically called the Haunted Mountains.
Yeah, I remember that.
This is after they've gone into hiding.
Yeah.
But one of Barahir's men had been tricked by Sauron. Sauron was able to find him, give him a little illusion, and get this man to give him the location of Barahir and his people.
The plans to the Death Star.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Sauron came in.
Secret plans to the Death Star. Yeah.
Yep. Sauron and his orcs come in, and they wipe this whole family out. And Barahir gives his ring to Beren, and Beren is the only one who escapes.
Is Beren a blood kin of Barahir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Beren escapes, and he goes into the haunted forest. And this is an area that is so full of terror that even the orcs won't go in there. This is the place where Ungoliant ended up going and letting all of her evil out and eventually devouring herself.
And her brood spawn.
Yes.
Yes.
So
nasty.
This is like the darkest of dark territories. Nobody who has gone in here has ever come out alive.
Because Ungoliant was almost like a personification of the void.
Yeah.
Like the absence of life and creation.
Well, Ungoliant is the only creature that scared Morgoth.
Yeah, imagine. But he unwittingly allied with her because he thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Unwittingly didn't realize that she was going to be greedy and wanted more and more and more.
Right.
Nuts. And of course, Shelob, the horror that attacks Frodo and Sam, Shelob is the direct descendant of Ungoliant, as you folks will remember.
Right.
Remember your lore, okay?
So
here we are in the mountains, in these mountains of terror, these hills of terror.
This valley of terror, and
this,
and Beren unbelievably is able to make his way through this.
This war-torn survivor, this lonely guy, all by himself.
All by himself.
Yeah.
Gets through all this and finds himself in the land of Doriath.
Yeah.
Which is a kingdom that is ruled by King Thingol.
That's right, King Thingol. He's the best.
Yes, I love King Thingol up until the end when he really pulls some dick moves. But,
yeah.
But Doriath is a place that is completely forbidden to men. It's an elves only land, and it's
elves only.
And
That's not racist.
Not only that, it's
it really
specific elves only. Like only certain elves of certain lineages and certain families are allowed in there.
And the northern borders were protected by the Girdle of Melian.
Yes.
Right.
Melian is...
Wasn't she a Maiar?
She was.
Oh, and she married Thingol.
She married Thingol.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's another one of those meet cutes. That's another Tolkien meet cute because
cute.
in the main exodus of the elves going to Valinor, Thingol was waylaid in the forest of Neldoreth because he saw Melian dancing around the trees, and he was smitten with her, and the two of them locked eyes and stared at each other for like years.
That's right, yeah.
And so everybody else went on without him, except for a select number of elves who were loyal to Thingol. They stayed with him.
That's so cool.
And he went by another name at that time, and I'm blanking on the name, but he eventually changed his name to Thingol, which means like Grey Helm.
Grey Helm, that's right. For you folks who are just joining us, welcome. It's St. Valentine's Day.
I'm setting up a whole lot of history here before we even get into
let's
the story.
dig in for a few juicy passages because you guys are very welcome. Welcome to our show. TheOneRing.net is happy to host. We're talking about not only Aragorn and Arwen, which I talked about for about half an hour, but we're connecting that romantic story to what's in the Silmarillion with Beren meeting Luthien for the first time.
Okay, so here we go. So Beren has just gone through an incredible gauntlet of pain, torture, and terror.
That's right. Yeah, total nightmare.
And we have this. It is told in the Lay of Leithian that Beren came stumbling into Doriath, gray and bowed as with many years of woe. So great had been the torment of the road. But wandering in the summer in the woods of Neldoreth, he came upon Luthien, daughter of Thingol and Melian, at a time of evening under moonrise, as she danced upon the unfading grass in the glades of Esgalduin.
Wow.
Then all memory...
Esgalduin.
Yes.
Hashtag nerd problems.
Right?
Esgalduin. Okay?
Esgalduin, yes. Then all memory of his pain departed from him, and he fell into an enchantment. For Luthien was the most beautiful of all the children of Iluvatar. Blue was her raiment as the unclouded heaven, but her eyes were gray as the starlit evening. Her mantle was sewn with golden flowers, but her hair was dark as the shadows of twilight.
Just like Arwen's hair was dark.
Yeah.
And Tolkien describes her dark hair. Yes, okay.
As the light upon the leaves of trees, as the voice of clear waters, as the stars above the mists of the world, such was her glory and her loveliness, and in her face was a shining light. But she vanished from his sight, and he became dumb, as one that was bound under a spell, and he strayed long in the woods, wild and wary as a beast, seeking for her.
Wow.
In his heart he called her Tinuviel, that signifies nightingale, daughter of twilight, and in the gray elven tongue, for he knew no other name for her. And he saw her afar as leaves on the winds of autumn, and in winter as a star upon a hill, but a chain was upon his limbs.
Frozen, he was smitten like a kitten.
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine she'd be attracted to him because he was all scruffy, war-torn, ragged.
Well, here we get to it.
Okay, here we get to it.
Then the spell of silence fell from Beren, and he called to her, crying, Tinuviel, and the words echoed the name, and she halted in wonder and fled no more. And Beren came to her, but as she looked on him, doom fell upon her, and she loved him. Yet she slipped from his arms and vanished from his sight, even as the day was breaking. Then Beren lay upon the ground in a swoon, as one slayed at once by bliss and grief, and fell into a sleep.
A swoon of bliss and grief.
Oh, wait. And he fell into a sleep, as it were into an abyss of shadow, and waking he was cold as stone, and his heart barren and forsaken.
Oh my gosh, wowzer.
It's like
wowzer.
Like this is like the most emo I've ever seen.
This is the most emo thing ever. And yeah, it's so great.
And wandering in mind, he groped as one that is stricken with sudden blindness and seeks with hands to grasp the vanished light. Thus he began the payment of anguish for the fate that was laid on him. And in his fate Luthien was caught. And being immortal, she shared in his mortality, and being free, received his chain, and her anguish was greater than any other of the Idaliae has known. And so, long story short, they went through some stuff. They went through some emotional stuff together, but she did love him, so she began to nurse his wounds and bring him back to his full health.
She did. She was a generous lass, wasn't she? That's so cool.
Yeah, and so eventually she brings him back to health, and then she brings him down into the underground palace known as Menegroth.
Oh yeah, I remember Menegroth.
And
now this is where Thranduil in Mirkwood was probably most likely interested in recreating some of the beautiful underground realm of Menegroth. And that's where he got that approach.
And it has to be pointed out that Menegroth was actually a joint effort by elves and dwarves.
Nice.
Because this is a time when the elves and dwarves actually got along very well.
Yeah? Oh, good. That's good.
So she brings Beren to Thingol. Then Thingol looked upon Beren in scorn and anger, but Melian was silent. "Who are you," said the king, "that come hither as a thief and unbidden dare to approach my throne?"
Yes.
And Luthien spoke, "He is Beren, son of Barahir, lord of men, mighty foe of Morgoth, the tale of whose deeds has become a song even among the elves." "Let Beren speak," said Thingol. "What would you hear, unhappy mortal? And for what cause have you left your own land to enter this which is forbidden to such as you?
Wow.
Can you show any reason why my power should not be laid on you in heavy punishment for your insolence and folly?"
Whoa, spitting bullets.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, Thingol doesn't mince words.
Thank you, Jean Bourgeois. Thingol was also called Singolo, and, of course, originally Elwë.
Elwë, thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Elwë,
That's right.
Yes.
That's very, very good.
I knew somebody would know it.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
we appreciate that. It's good to have a live chat because you guys get to bounce corrections and ideas with us. We really appreciate that.
So, then Beren, looking up, beheld the eyes of Luthien, and his glance went also to the face of Melian, and it seemed to him that words were put into his mouth. Fear left him, and the pride of the eldest house of men returned to him, and he said, "My fate, O king, led me hither, through perils such as few even of the elves would dare, and here I have found what I sought not indeed, but finding I would possess forever, for it is above all gold and silver and beyond all jewels. Neither rock nor steel, nor the fires of Morgoth, nor all the powers of the elf kingdoms shall keep from me the treasure that I desire. For Luthien, your daughter, is the fairest of all the children of the world."
Wow. Slam dunk.
Yeah, he brought it. He brought it hard.
He totally did. That's really awesome.
But that just riles up Thingol more.
Does it really?
And so
he's like, "Don't come at my daughter. Don't even."
But Thingol spoke slowly, saying, "Death you have earned with these words.
Whoa!
And death you should find suddenly, had I not sworn an oath in haste, of which I repent, base-born mortal, who in the realm of Morgoth has learned to creep in secret as his spies and thralls." So he's accusing Beren of being a spy for Morgoth.
Wow. Well, at that point in time, that was just as likely as anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then,
intriguing.
I think this is where Melian speaks up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Melian leaned to Thingol's side and whispered counsel and bade him forego his wrath. "For not by you," she said, "shall Beren be slain. And far and free does his fate lead him in the end. Yet it is wound with yours. Take heed."
Ooh, interesting.
So
the behind every man, there has to be a great woman.
And Melian is a great woman because she's a Maya. She's a demigoddess, pretty much.
And is choosing to live in corporeal form.
Yeah.
With Thingol.
And she's choosing to live with Thingol, but she's also a great counselor to him, and she's one of the few people whose counsel he will take.
Yes. That's good. That's really good stuff. Well, we're getting here near at 6:20.
Okay.
And we're in the last 10 minutes of our program.
Okay.
But we have a lot of Beren and Luthien territory to still cover.
Oh yeah,
I'm afraid.
The story of Beren and Luthien is fantastic, and I actually wanted to write up a piece on Torn.
It's such an adventure.
Just to make the case for if we are to ever get another Middle Earth movie.
Yeah.
Beren and Luthien is the story we should go with.
Sorry.
Because Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Because this is the one that, first of all, it's a very self-contained story.
It is.
It's a fantastic adventure. Mm-hmm. It's got great characters, not just Beren and Luthien, but Thingol and Melian and Huon, the Hound of the Valar, who is fantastic. Sauron, Celegorm, and Curufin.
Yep. Dave Gentry says Thingol polishing his blade like a father polishing his shotgun. Yes.
Yep.
He's like, I'm about to lock up my daughter and take care of you, son, so don't come anywhere near my throne.
And that's exactly what he does.
He locks her up.
He locks her up. And he locks her up.
And
then also because he can't, because he had made this pledge that he wouldn't kill Beren, he then gives him an impossible task. He says, if you want the hand of Luthien, then you have to sneak into Angband and you have to steal a Silmaril from the crown of Morgoth and bring it back to me. If you do that, I will grant you Luthien's hand in marriage.
Now, that is also a common theme in other ancient tales. Where someone who seeks the hand of a princess that they cannot have, and the princess sends her suitors off to do impossible tasks.
Right.
It happens in the earliest fable from Japanese folklore, The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, which was beautifully animated in The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, where she sends all of her princely suitors off around the world to do impossible tasks like reclaiming Silmarils from Morgoth. The equivalency is there. But we also get other layers of adventure, other twists and turns.
Yeah.
And it's worth noting that Beren and Luthien has the distinction of being the only story from the Silmarillion that was ever approved by Christopher Tolkien to be adapted into a stage ballet. And a choreography school did a beautiful full stage ballet. Look at There's Gollum's beautiful little Valentine's heart. Will you be mine, Gollum? So, how about that? Beren and Luthien is that very, 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 prime, beautiful crown jewel of all the Silmarillion stories.
Yeah.
That is more digestible, more approachable, I think, than a lot of other Silmarillion stories.
And just
and they made a beautiful ballet out of it.
And satisfying as a narrative, because it does have it has a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
And I would also argue that this is one of the more progressive stories that Tolkien ever wrote.
Yeah.
Because, and I know
that's true.
Over the years, especially since the movies have come out, Tolkien has gotten a lot of flack for
many reasons.
There being not enough women in Lord of the Rings, for there being no women at all in The Hobbit. But then you have this story of Beren and Luthien does a hell of a lot in this story.
She does.
There's a point where
she's more involved as a person in the adventure than Éowyn was.
Yeah. Yeah. She gets locked up by Thingol, and she ends up breaking herself out with the help of Huon, who is a Hound of the Valar, who is one of my favorite characters. I love him to death. But then she also learns that Beren, in his quest, was captured by Sauron and brought to his fortress, and so Luthien basically takes it upon herself to rescue Beren.
She does.
Yeah.
Girl power.
Yes.
Girl power.
And because she is a part Maya, she also has their abilities, and she's able to disguise herself. And so to get to Angband, she disguises both herself and Beren as a werewolf. And a vampire bat.
And a vampire bat, which is something that has confused a lot of people with Tolkien's Legendarium.
Yeah.
They're like, since when are there vampires in Middle-earth?
Yeah.
Well, in that one instance.
Yeah.
In that one instance, it's the only one instance we know.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
What's the Gollum thing doing?
I don't know what's going on.
Are we kissing Gollum? Are we kissing Gollum now?
Gollum kissing everybody?
Is this a beautiful Valentine's kiss from Gollum? Oh, smoochy.
So
smoochy.
I'm sorry that we have to cut the story of Beren and Luthien short, but the point I want to make about Beren and Luthien is that if we're ever going to get another Middle-earth movie, I feel like this is the one we should start with.
It's one of the best to start with.
Because you can definitely get 2 movies out of this. If you work hard, you could probably get 3.
Yeah, you probably could.
You could definitely get 2 because it's got a great part 1 and a great part 2.
It does. Well, I did a show with Justin 5 years ago where we broke the Silmarillion down into a 7-film franchise.
Right. Yeah.
7 films.
Yeah.
I have a friend who did that Vic Mignogna, a Lord of the Rings parody with me, The Lord of the Todd. Mm-hmm. Well, that guy who played Boromir, his name's Ben Rice.
Okay.
He's a great guy. He just told me recently that he's finished a fantastic full screenplay.
Oh, really?
He's written a whole spec script of the Silmarillion. But in many conversations that we have had, and again, we always come back to this, people in the chat always ask, when are they going to make the Silmarillion into movies or movies or shows?
It's going to take a while.
Well, it's not happening now.
It's going to take a while, and it's going to take work.
And it's not happening because the estate, the Tolkien estate, will not let the rights out for Silmarillion to be adapted. They will not license any of the rights to Silmarillion.
So
the fact that they licensed the Silmarillion story, Beren and Luthien, to a choreography school to do a ballet based on Beren and Luthien
that was huge.
Was a huge and singular exception, really.
But basically what it's going to come down to is either we're going to have to wait until the Tolkien estate gets an executor who is more amenable to the idea.
That's right.
Or we have to wait until Tolkien's work goes public domain, which happens in 2046, I believe.
Good heavens. Well,
no, 2043, sorry.
That's a long, long, long time to wait.
But even then, we're going to see some court cases about that because the Silmarillion was edited and rewritten by Christopher Tolkien, which makes him part author for it.
Yeah.
Which means the copyright for that is also in his name, not just in J.R.R.'s name.
Yeah.
And so we would see some court cases about, does this mean the Silmarillion becomes public domain along with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings?
Ooh, yeah,
Or does it get extended until anything written by Christopher Tolkien becomes public domain? Which means we would have to wait even longer.
Well, when someone said in the live chat, we never thought the Hobbit rights would be released, so that the Hobbit could be made.
That's true.
Well, the Hobbit rights were sold by Professor Tolkien when he was alive.
Yeah.
When Tolkien was alive, he sold off the farm, and the rights to Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit could be adapted and licensed out for any adaptation. Radio broadcast, teleplay, film, television, other formats.
And they were. And the BBC did a fantastic radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings back in the 80s, which I highly recommend everybody check out.
Yes, indeed. So here, we've got Skype turned on. So as we near the last quadrant of our show, we're getting ready to slow down and end our show. We're going to take Skype calls from any of you folks out there. We've got 1 minute left. So look, he's counting us down. No, 3 minutes?
We're at the 3-minute mark.
Dude. We're at the 3-minute mark. So, we have Skype, and we're on right here. You can find us as The One Ring Net. Our nickname on Skype is Barlaman Butterbur, which is fun.
Yeah.
It reminds me of J.K. Rowling's Butterbeer.
Yeah, right?
Yes, Butterbur.
I wonder if that was maybe a nod to Tolkien.
Of course, especially the woman who wrote a history of magic, and Bathilda Bagshot.
Yeah.
Who lived in Godric's Hollow.
Right.
Yeah, Bathilda Bagshot took her name from Bagshot Row, where Samwise and the Gamgee family lived in 3. Was it number 3? Number 3, Bagshot Row.
Number 3,
that's
Bagshot
right.
Row, yes.
So if anybody wants to call and help say goodnight, Gracie, you can come and be on the show and say goodnight, Gracie. But this is a really beautiful Valentine's Day. We're surrounded by great friends, great people, erudite Tolkien fans from all around the world. You're all here with us now, and we're one big extended family.
And
thank you, DK. You're fabulous too.
We're all about the love today on this Valentine's
Now,
Day.
one of our chatters says that they'd rather not make a series out of it, rather not make the Silmarillion at all. Now, this is an interesting contrast in opinion, because in most of our encounters with Ringer fans around the world, at all the major events we go to, there is an eager hunger. There's a great, great appetite for this book, The Silmarillion, to take the place of Game of Thrones, as a huge, expensive fantasy mega series on HBO or otherwise.
There is certainly enough material in it. Like,
it's an anthology.
It
There's
really
not
is. Like,
one single story arc in here. There's many story arcs.
Yeah, this is a very condensed version of the full history of Middle Earth.
Yes.
Like, it covers eons.
Eons. Remember, Galadriel is over 7,000 years old.
Yeah.
And when we meet her and find out what responsibilities she took in the Oath of Fëanor and the kinslaying and all that horrible BS that happened early stages of this history, when we read this, we understand more about Galadriel when she says in the Fellowship of the Ring, I pass the test. I shall diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel.
That is a
so
huge moment for her.
It's so good! And it's so much more powerful when you know the Silmarillion and all the details within. Highly recommended. You guys get out your Silmarillion and reread it. And if you want more details, look up Torn Book Club that our boy Josh made. He's got many chapters of study guides for the Silmarillion, and they're beautifully done.
We go through the Silmarillion chapter by chapter. It's 20 episodes, 30 hours long, but we go through the whole dang thing.
It's excellent. Well, we didn't have any Skype calls today, but we have
okay.
5 seconds left. Come and join us next week, live at Torn Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m., and so we say goodnight, stay safe, and have a really wonderful evening with your loved ones, with your relatives, and with your fellow Ringer fans, if that's all you got nearby. have a wonderful Valentine's Day.
Good
you guys
night.
stay safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific time, right here at theonering.net/live. I'm Clifford Broadway. This is
Josh Rubenstein.
You can find me on Twitter at QuickBeam2000 and on Instagram at QuickBeam2000.
And you can find me on Twitter at Josh Rubenstein.
Yeah. And
R-U-B-I-N.
R-U-B. Hey, it's wonderful to have you guys here. Enjoy the night. Good night.
Good night.
Sayonara.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Be my precious. There you go. We love you, Gollum. Good show, folks. Good show.